Aware, this webinar will be recorded and posted on the Chamber website later this afternoon. We want to thank our sponsor, Exelon Generation, for sponsoring this event. And we will address some of the most frequently asked questions, as well as take some of your questions as well. You can submit questions in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. So joining us today is Senator Joni Ernst to talk about what employers need to know about what's going on to help combat COVID-19. She's going to give some brief opening remarks, and then we'll open it up for questions. Again, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to submit some questions now. But for now, I'm going to turn it over to Senator Ernst. Senator?
Oh, great. No, well, thank you so much, everybody, for allowing me to join you today, and I think we'll have a great discussion. It is a difficult time. There just truly is no doubt that Iowans are feeling the impact of the pandemic, and we will get through this. Just as Tyler said, we will get through this together. We know our folks are resilient here in Iowa, so we will go through. What I'd like to do is go through a couple items on the phases 1, 2, and 3 packages that were done by Congress, and then we can move on to questions as well. So first off, I have such a tremendous partner in Senator Grassley, and while we were in Washington, D.C., I was able to work at a pretty rapid pace. Of course, Senator Grassley chairing finance, he had his own task force. I am on small business, so worked from that angle. But we were able to work across the aisle and get that relief for our workers and families and small businesses, and especially those in our healthcare community on the front lines. And we're thankful that the president was able to get that signed without delay last Friday. We did this in 3 different phases. And so phase 1 was done earlier this month, and it provided additional funding and resources to our federal, state, and local partners and our health officials right here in Iowa. And then a few weeks ago, we did finish and pass phase 2. And that is the phase that provided for free COVID-19 diagnostic testing. It increased access to our vital nutrition and food for children and seniors, and it provided emergency paid sick leave for workers and Iowa's moms and dads. And I heard so much about that as I was making calls across the state. And then last week, again, we finalized the overwhelmingly bipartisan phase 3 package. And in that phase, we are coming to the aid of America's workforce and those in our healthcare industry, and specifically how we are helping Iowans and our small businesses. First, for individuals, workers, and families, there is direct cash assistance to Iowans, including our seniors. This is something that, of course, AARP Iowa was really, really helpful with, getting folks to call in and visit with our delegation. And I worked on that angle. I thought it was really important. Our seniors, many of them supplement their income. I heard from one couple, they supplement their income by selling baked goods at farmers markets, and they no longer can do those types of activities. So we felt it was really important that they were included in this direct cash assistance. So those that earn $75,000 or less will get the maximum amount of $1,200, and married couples earning up to $150,000 will receive the maximum amount of $2,400. And then for each child, they will receive $500 as well. And through this, we've also bolstered unemployment insurance programs, and we've added $250 billion into our state's unemployment insurance programs. Now, for small businesses and nonprofits, and again, I'm a member of the Small Business Committee, so this was one of the priority areas for me. It was expanding access to small business loans for all companies with under 500 employees, including those that are self-employed, those that are nonprofits, and childcare providers. And the great thing about this is the loans will be handled locally. Local banks and credit unions will make and approve these loans, wiping out that middleman in the process, making it quicker and more efficient. A lot of these businesses will be very comfortable going to their local lender, people that know them, know their business. I also expanded the use of loans. So these loans can be used for payroll support, and that would include paid leave, mortgage payments for those businesses, and other types of debt obligations. And the point there is that if businesses are keeping their employees on the payroll, or they can rehire those individuals once the pandemic has passed, then these loans will be partially forgiven. And this will help folks keep their jobs and continue to collect a paycheck. Very, very important. And I know I went through that rather quickly, and that's just really the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what relief is actually in these packages. It was a bipartisan effort, and I'm glad that we were able to pull together and get it done. And at the federal level, we will continue to partner with Governor Reynolds and all of our wonderful folks at the state and local levels. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. My mantra is we will get through this. Every single Iowan can do their part. We need to stay safe, and we need to stay strong. So I will stop there, and let's go ahead and take some questions and have some discussion. That would be great.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for those opening comments, Senator. Again, if you have questions, you can submit them in the Q&A at the bottom, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. One of the questions, Senator, will there be grants or low interest loans available in future legislation for individuals to start new businesses?
Well, that is something that we are discussing, and of course we are going through the small business angle on my front as well. But we do believe that there will be a phase 4 package that is being discussed. Of course, we will go through the phase 3 and make sure we're covering down on opportunity for those that already have existing businesses. We will evaluate that, look to the future then as we see it's working. So I do believe there is opportunity for further discussion on that. We want to make sure that existing businesses can stay in place, keep their employees employed, and then we'll look to the future as we start to redevelop after COVID-19 has passed. So it is, again, part of that discussion, and I look forward to hearing some of your ideas too on how we can maybe implement that should there be a phase 4.
Fantastic. Another question coming in. Since Federal Response Act, the CARES Act, and Iowa State grants are taking a bit of time, what are some immediate cash flow options that you would like to tell our businesses to help maintain payroll and also maintain cash flow?
Well, again, I know that it is taking time through some of the delivery mechanisms. It will be a couple of weeks before Iowans start seeing those direct payments infused into their bank accounts or through a check through the mail. But we also know that the Small Business Administration is really working very hard as part of this package. And we are starting to see some of that break loose now. And the latest we have heard from Secretary Mnuchin is he hopes to have all of that in place on Friday. So we are very, very close to having that done, and businesses should be able to apply again as soon as this Friday. If there are questions about that, folks can go to my website or the Treasury or Small Business Administration websites for more information. But as part of the relief package, again, it's what we call the Paycheck Protection Program, and these are the 100% SBA-backed loans for businesses. You do have to be 500 employees or less. So that does include self-employed and nonprofits. So again, Friday should be able to apply for those loans, and then within another week or so, we'll start to see the infusion of direct payments into our checking accounts or as the form of a check. So we look to that. There are some emergency grants as well, which is expanding the eligibility for entities that are suffering from economic harm because of COVID-19. And this would be the SBA's economic injury disaster loans, and they can apply for those disaster loans and receive an advance of $10,000 within 3 days, and that would help maintain payroll, provide sick leave, and other service or other debt obligations. So there's a number of different ways, whether it's through grants, through loans. We also have the delayed payment of employer payroll taxes. So you may want to check into that as well. And something that we've talked about, again, the employee retention credit. And if you don't want to use the Paycheck Protection Program, employers can opt to receive a refundable payroll tax credit for 50% of wages paid by employers to their employees during the pandemic crisis. So a number of different opportunities there. And again, if folks would like assistance, they can certainly go to my website or, as I said, to the Treasury or SBA websites for more information. And I've got a great team on board with me, both here in the state of Iowa and in Washington, D.C. I do believe that Tyler Brown is on the phone call as well today. And certainly send us a message. If you need assistance, we're more than happy to help and get our employers pointed in the right direction. But again, we're all in it together. There's a lot of different opportunities there.
Thank you so much, Senator. I want to echo a comment you just made. Senator Ernst's staff has been very helpful to the Quad Cities Chamber and to a lot of our members in helping trying to navigate some of these very difficult times. And a lot of the information that the Senator just went over is available on our website, quadcitieschamber.com, and our blog, so you can review that information there as well. The next question coming in is that most organizations are eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program, including 501c3 nonprofits and for-profit businesses. What about other nonprofits like a 501c6 or a 501c4 organizations that were included? Is there any opportunity to enable these important organizations to access these new federal funds in the future?
Right, and we did take a look at that because I have heard from a number of organizations like chambers that are not able to take advantage of some of these types of programs like the Paycheck Protection Program. It was a discussion that we had. However, the decision was made, again, to try and get as many people on board as possible, is to drive forward with what we have right now. It is still part of that discussion moving forward, but as for right now, those entities, again, the example of like a Chamber of Commerce is not able to take advantage of that program. We were able to make consensus again with the nonprofits. And we thought that this was very important to make sure that some of those specific nonprofits were included because the way it was originally set, a number of businesses, those nonprofits that do receive Medicaid dollars were going to be cut out of these small business loan opportunities. And I use the example of our community-based providers. We have a number of folks that are providing mental health supports, that are providing substance abuse treatment, and those that are providing care for those that are severely physically disabled or intellectually disabled. So the decision was made. We do need to include those types of organizations. So there is a carve out for those types of nonprofits that receive Medicaid dollars. They are just such an important part of our communities. We certainly didn't want to see them lose out on this opportunity. Other organizations, other types of nonprofits, we will continue to have those discussions.
Fantastic. So another question, how are loans forgiven and to what degree? What specific loan programs can you touch on that could be forgiven?
Well, again, there's the Small Business Administration loans, the Paycheck Protection Program, which is out there. It does allow for those that are providing payroll to individuals, part of that can be forgiven, because the point of that and some of these other protection programs within SBA, what we would like to do is forgive that portion, that refundable payroll tax credit, or the wages that have been paid into that program, because we would rather see those employers keep people on payroll rather than releasing them to unemployment. So it's better if we know that these individuals will have jobs to go back to, and that's why the payroll portion can be forgiven. Now, if you're using those loans to pay other debts or other types of operating expenses, those won't be forgivable. But if you are focusing on your employees, you're trying to retain them, then there are opportunities there for forgivable loans.
Great. That's great information, Senator. Again, for everybody listening, if you have any questions for the Senator, please go to the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to as many of these questions as we can in the time frame that we have. And the next question is coming from the Mayor of Davenport, Mike Matson. He says, "We appreciate the help from the government to provide funding for the small businesses in our community. One concern that we have is that some of the bureaucracy and detailed requirements, especially from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, is very cumbersome. Some businesses are living day to day. Are there ways that we can help and reach out to federal agencies to help ease the burden for our businesses?"
Yeah, great question, Mayor. Thank you so much. And as always, when you are dealing with any federal entity and there are specific issues that you would like addressed, please reach out to my office. We certainly want to see that, one, if there are specific issues that can be addressed, whether it's through HUD, any other entity, we can certainly do that. And then, of course, then if there are broader issues that maybe not only you are experiencing in the Quad Cities, but maybe we start to see a trend in other areas, Sioux City, Des Moines, on a larger scale, then that is an opportunity for us to really engage as Congress and see if there are ways through legislation that we can make improvements, or through regulation, actually going back to those specific federal agencies, working with them to streamline some of their regulations. So again, my best advice right now, especially during this pandemic, is if there are specific issues, HUD is a great example. If there are things that we can help smooth out with HUD, let us know what those specific issues are, and we will absolutely do our best to, be a bridge between that federal agency and that local government. But we are here to help. We want to do as much as we can during this difficult time. But thanks, Mayor. I appreciate your great work.
Thank you very much for that answer. The next question is that we have submitted info to the SBA for an economic injury loan. When do you anticipate that we will hear on those? And are those economic injury loans forgivable?
Yes, and so again, with the economic injury loans, we did expand the eligibility for those entities because of COVID-19. And so you can get that advance, $10,000, but I don't know that one is forgivable. I think that is just a straight out $10,000. Actually, no, it's not. It is not forgivable, but you can get the advance of $10,000. So not forgivable, but if it helps you maintain that payroll and provide sick leave, we certainly want you to take advantage of that.
Fantastic information. There's talk about a phase 4, Senator, and what type of, if you can look into your crystal ball, I know it's been tough in the last few weeks looking into that crystal ball. It's gotten a little hazier, but what can we foresee the federal government doing in the upcoming weeks to help our small and medium-sized businesses other than the programs that you've already outlined?
Yes, now this is going to be really interesting because so many of us have very different ideas on what a phase 4 could look like. And I do believe we will have a phase 4. We need to focus on getting phase 3 implemented effectively. Of course, that is what we need to be prioritizing. We need to get that aid out there to businesses. But I've already heard talk amongst some of the different members and even coming from the president that we should likely see a phase 4 when Congress is called back. So what I would like to see prioritized in phase 4, of course, is making sure that our healthcare industry is shored up. We did provide quite a bit of funding in the phase 3 package for our healthcare systems, but we do anticipate that they are going to be very, very stressed during this system. So as we come out of this, what I'd like to see is that we make sure those industries are whole and able to start then doing some of those non-essential types of services that we have heard about, those instead of prioritizing just COVID-19 and the testing and other things like that, allow them to get back into what they do on a daily basis and seeing their patients. So that would be one of the priorities within the bill. Again, going back to making sure that our economy is strong, taking a look at, did we do enough in phase 3 to make sure our small businesses are protected? And if not, are there additional things, as some of the suggestions that we've heard already on this phone call today, making sure that we can incorporate some of that into the next package. And then I did hear the president state that he would love to see infrastructure as part of one of these additional phases. He really, really wants to see infrastructure done across the United States. I think, again, that's another great bipartisan move. We will have to evaluate that. We need to visit with the administration a little bit more to see what they have in mind. But I know that that is an issue all of us feel very strongly about. We would love to see infrastructure done. But first and foremost, let's make sure our folks are healthy. Let's make sure we have the methodology and the infrastructure within our healthcare systems to make sure people are healthy. And then let's get this economy back up and going through, again, the number of suggestions that you have given to us. And, I appreciate your feedback. And please continue to send information to us, because as we move into this potential phase 4, I'd want to know what would be important to your communities as well.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great way to end the Q&A portion. And that just means we're coming up to the end of the call. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And especially want to thank Senator Joni Ernst for joining us as well. Again, this webinar is going to be recorded, and it is going to be available on our website this afternoon, quadcitieschamber.com. And be sure to keep up with us on social media as well. Again, we want to thank Senator Ernst, and we're going to turn it over to her for some closing remarks. Senator?
You bet. Thanks so much, everyone. And again, this is going to be a very difficult time, and we will stay in touch. If there are specific needs for the community, feel free to reach out to us. We really want to make sure that we are putting you in touch with the resources you need to get through this difficult time. Make sure that you are staying safe and staying strong, and we will pull together as Iowans. We will be resilient, and better days are ahead. God bless you all so much for what you do. Again, please go to my website, ernst.senate.gov. We do have resources listed there. Please feel free to reach out if you're not finding the information you need, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. Thanks, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, Senator. Thanks again to Exelon, and we hope that everybody will join us for our webinar tomorrow, which you can sign up on the Quad Cities Chamber website in a little bit and shortly this afternoon. Thanks all for joining, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.